Hello! Welcome back. Once again, this is Becca going by Nightcat or Nightcat's Meow when online. And we're back for another week regarding Linden scripting language. You see the target behind me that we were going over last week. Unfortunately, I actually deleted the scripted version just before and I only discovered it just before I was going to record. But if you all have yours from last week, you'll already have that. Today, we're going to make a simple ball toss to throw at it. Now, a tossing ball like that, there's a lot of stuff to that I don't deal with very often. So I actually made it in advance, and we're going to go over it. But I will show you exactly all the steps to do first before I go over that. Normally we start with the Mark 1 cube, but this time we're going to start with the Mark 1 sphere. Now, personally, when I think of a throwing ball, I think of just a simple colored ball like that. You can make it any color you like. Make it of a size that seems to fit your avatar nicely. Once you've got that, shift and drag to make another one. This one, you will go to its Object tab, make it both temporary and physical. Temporary will mean it will delete itself after a time, so that you don't have to worry about cleaning it up and you won't accidentally have a whole bunch of thrown balls lying all over the sim. And physical will allow it to actually move with forces imparted on it during res. So it will then take the temporary physical one, make sure to rename it ball, and put it inside your other ball. At that point, you can start to script it. You have the ball that will be seen in your hand, and the ball that you will actually throw. Now this is the one I was working on. Again, I don't deal with some of these commands very often, so I worked it up in advance. All in all, most of the basic structure should look pretty simple, should look pretty familiar, but we're using a lot of stuff that you haven't seen before. So we'll start with the stuff that you have. This throw function up here, res object, we covered a couple of weeks ago. What are we resing? The name of the object, ball, that we put inside. What is its starting position? We get the position of the ball. This is where you'd put the velocity. That's a little complicated. We'll get to that in a moment. And what is its rotation? We're just going to take the same rotation it has. Since it's going to be attached when we throw, that is going to depend very greatly on your avatar position, and that is why the velocity gets complicated. Rote to forward is just a way that guarantees that things are shifted around. The X, Y, and Z axes are shifted around in such a way that it goes forward. This is particularly useful if you're attaching anything to the avatar itself. This makes sure that it will go forward away from the avatar in the direction you're facing. Especially if you're in mouse look mode, which is the same, basically first-person view mode. That guarantees that forward is wherever you happen to be pointing. Of course, we have to be rotate forward from what, which is get rotation. And then we assign a velocity. We're starting with an experimental times 1. That's not a lot of force, but it's something we can get started with. The next thing should also be somewhat familiar. Request permissions. We had to do this for creating animations a few weeks back. Requested of the owner. Only this time the permission is to take controls. This is how you tell the script to pay attention for the different input you give Second Life to control how your avatar acts or how you interact with the world. But because we're taking controls, we have to deal with runtime permission. This is triggered whenever you actually give the yes or no up here. And actually, one thing I found in testing, you want to not only have it on state entry, but also at on res. So if it does not know that it has permission, there it goes. It's asking me, ball, an object owned by me, would like to act on my control inputs. Is this okay? Yes. That also just triggered here, the runtime permissions. If permission equals take controls, some of you may find it redundant, but remember it's always important to double check, to verify that things are doing exactly what you're after. And then you can take control, ML left mouse button, that is mouse look left mouse button. So if you're in first person mode and you hit the left mouse button, this will trigger. Now take controls has the true false setting. So what is that? Well, you could go ahead and check the wiki. The little image of is floating around on there. The first one is accept and the other is pass on. So in this case, you have it to accept, yes, and to pass on, no. So what does those mean? Accept, it determines whether the control event is generated. That means a control event is that key is pressed, that action is performed. Pass on determines whether or not it would do the same thing it would do if you hadn't taken controls. So if you're accepting it, the script will act on it. If you're passing it on, SL will act on it. You could have it to be both, just one, just the other, or neither. If for some reason for a particular script you needed to block the ability to use a particular control, you could take controls, false to not act on it, and false to not pass it on. So that's what those do. This tells it to act on it, this tells it to pass it on. The fact that it's specifically mouse look left button, as opposed to the perfectly valid just left button. In the normal view, like we have here right now, this would just be left button. However, if I hit escape to center my camera and then move in, now I'm in first person mouse look view mode. Now this would be up, there it goes. It's actually dropping balls because it detects that I'm interacting there. However, out here, it's not responding. The last part is control, name, levels. One of them is, the first one is if you click and hold down. The second one is if you just click and let go. The system processes those differently. This is kind of the difference between a click and drag and a double click. So we then have if edges and control equals the same control. Basically, was this just tapped? Or here it asks, was it held down? In either case, it triggers the throw command we created up there. The problem we're running into is mostly that it's not producing a great deal of force. Let's go ahead and take the ball. I will add the ball to my right hand. Use the avatar post stand there. This way I can get into the script while it's attached. Yep, the balls are just falling down. So let's try giving them more force. Try giving them 10 times as much force and see if this works. This will tell us, did I code that part wrong? Or did they just not have enough push to go very far? Up, you see? They're actually moving this time. So, let's say we raise that to 20. Now I can throw balls and hit the target. And all of these will clean themselves up automatically. Beware my rain of tennis balls. Now next week I'll show you how to keep them from bouncing and stay put where they land. So that is it for this week, and a basic lesson on how to res a projectile. Join us next week. I'll teach you funny tricks you can make with projectiles, things you can have them do when they hit a target, from stay put or trigger a message to make it do something. Any number of things you can do. So go ahead, tune in next week. I try to have these live every Tuesday by noon. So until then, good day, good luck, and happy scripting.